Hi, everybody. Marta Verduzco from Hood River Latino Network with another episode of interviews with our community partners or community agencies that we think are important information for you to have. Today, I'm super excited because I get to interview one of my good friends and former colleague, Kara Davis. She is our current Gilliam County. How do you say it, Kara? Gilliam County District Attorney and our newly elected Wasco County District Attorney.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, a pleasure to have you. Totally like new, great information that I know you're going to share with us. So I'm just going to start asking you questions. So what does a district attorney actually do?
Well, thank you for asking that. I think it's interesting. A district attorney is probably your local leader or elected official that has the most effect on your day-to-day life, that people know the least amount about what they do. So short story is that I prosecute crimes that occur within the county, but I do a lot more than that. We also formulate policy to help prevent crime. Mm-hmm. We review cases where things are not criminal and maybe help come up with alternative dispute resolutions to solve a problem before it becomes criminal. We deal with all of the juvenile crimes. We do all of the public records requests when they're denied and people appeal those. That goes to your district attorney. We do victim advocacy. Mm-hmm. We do anything that might touch on anything criminal that happens in the county. And we also have to do a lot of budgeting and human resources, and we work with all the different law enforcement agencies in the county to make sure that we're effectively representing everyone in the county and helping make it a safe place to live.
Almost nothing.
Almost nothing. It's a very easy job.
Yes, I mean, it's a great refresher. I used to work with you, and so yes, you guys do so much, and it's a great explanation on just. It's not just about prosecuting, but all the mental health and that you mentioned, mm-hmm. and all the other programs that sometimes are offered. What is a plea bargain?
Oh gosh, that comes up a lot. So there is this idea that if you get charged with a crime, you go to trial, and certainly everybody has the right to go to trial if they want to. But the reality is our system can't handle that. We charged well over 1,000 cases last year. I think we were somewhere around the range of 1,300 cases. Mm-hmm. We have 2 courtrooms with 2 judges. If we took a case to trial every single day of the week in both courtrooms, we would only be able to try maybe 10% of the cases. And that would give us no time to be reviewing new cases, mm-hmm. as new people get arrested. It would give us no time to charge people. It would give us no time if somebody was, doing a motion to suppress or had other motions in front of the courts. And it would give us no time to have vacations, the judges to have vacations, to have divorce cases, civil cases, lawsuits, none of that. So clearly we have to do something to get the cases resolved without going to trial in every case, because we just cannot physically do it. And the way we do that is we offer people plea bargains where mm-hmm. we say, if you admit you did this, then we will agree to recommend this sentence. And the idea is that it's better for them than going to trial and losing, but it's better for us than not being able to take it to trial at all. So we get that accountability. We don't put the victims through what could be a very hard process for them. And we've got the accountability. We've got the conviction we need. We've got the supervision and whatever else we need. Mm-hmm. And they get to lessen the risk to themselves.
So, and actually, when you mentioned the victims, and you have a victims advocacy office, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more of that? I think sometimes out there, there's the wrong impression that the victims aren't listened to, or that.
Oh, yeah. So we've got a very great victim advocates office. They do a great job and they are wonderful with the victims. Our victims can be anything from a small child, a 5-year-old child who's been sexually or physically abused up to, an elderly person who's been scammed out of money. The victims run the gamut. And we have a statutory and constitutional duty to listen to the victims, get their input on cases, and figure out what they need to be heard. We have to make our own independent decision. You can never, as a lawyer, delegate your decision making to somebody else. It always has to be you who makes the decision. But you do need to listen to the victims. And particularly with my young victims who have been through either sexual or physical violence, a lot of them do not want to go to trial, and they do not want to have those stories told in a room full of strangers. Other people would rather the defendant win their case at trial as long as they got to stand up in court and say, he or she did this to me.
Right.
So we try to be very careful to kind of follow the direction of the victims before going very aggressive or not. They have a lot of input. I do want to make sure that all of the victims feel like they are heard. I have heard some concerns that we've had some areas where maybe we weren't great on restitution, or we weren't great on very specific areas of victim representation. And we definitely are always striving to improve. Nobody's perfect, but I think we've got a really great office that does very well. And we keep going upward and onward. And we have some exciting ideas that we're trying to bring to the victim's office. We'll see if they pan out, if we're able to make them work.
Well, I mean, I can say that you guys, will work hard at least to accomplish those. How is your office affected by undocumented immigrants?
Oh, man, that is a real issue. We have some very vulnerable populations. Undocumented immigrants is high on my list of vulnerable populations that don't want to contact law enforcement and report crimes against them because they're afraid of the fallout afterwards.
Right.
So we definitely do have programs to help undocumented people. We have U visas that we can help people with. I definitely fill out paperwork when people are victims or witnesses to crimes and they come forward so that they cannot be threatened with deportation as a consequence. But it's very tough, especially in the area of domestic violence. I think there are a lot of people that seek out partners who are undocumented as a method for controlling them.
For sure.
And that is very worrisome for me, especially, and there's just so much rhetoric that is terrible about immigrants. And what gets lost in a lot of this is I don't care what your personal beliefs are. The person's still a victim of a crime, and what happened to them somebody needs to be held accountable for it. But if you're going to be heartless and not care, how many of those kids are citizens? Those kids that are getting caught up in this and witnessing that violence and being brought up in that violence, and that cycle of violence being perpetuated because a person is scared to come forward because of their undocumented status. We will always support victims. It doesn't matter if you've been a defendant in the past. It doesn't matter if you're undocumented. It doesn't matter if you have a drug problem. It doesn't matter what your issues are. If you are a victim, we are here to help you, not judge you for what went on in your life before you became a victim.
That is great information to have, because I think that's one of the things that, people, I've been a defendant before, they're not going to believe me. But, well, that's good. How do you decide what to do with your cases? I know, right?
It's so tough. First, there are two things that first and foremost are always the most important for me. And one is the Constitution. We have to do everything within the confines of the Constitution. It needs to be constitutional, because that is what kept this boat of a country on course for all of these years, right? For over 200 years, the reason why we've been going forward is because we've been following the basic framework of our laws. But most importantly, like really importantly, it's community safety. And so there are so many aspects of that. It's what keeps us safe from being victimized again, what keeps our victims safe from being victimized again. Sometimes the answer is we need to get the defendant help. It's really sad, but in today's day and age, a lot of our resources are only available to you once you commit a crime, which makes no sense to me. But mental health resources, drug treatment resources, maybe getting assistance in getting housing, getting assistance in occupational therapy. There are so many people that can only access those systems of help and systems of service once they're in the system.
Yeah.
And they cannot get that beforehand. So maybe we can help this person get back on the right track. Maybe we can help this person become not a threat to society anymore. The last thing I want to do is send somebody who's just struggling to prison and turn them into a real criminal who knows how to effectively commit crimes, right?
Right.
On the other hand, you do something like rape a baby, you're going to prison. Like there's no, okay, well, maybe I'm going to try and reform you first, right? So it's very much dependent on what does society need. It does include what does the offender need. Sometimes the only purview will be giving the offender that assistance in prison, depending on the crime. But sometimes it is what does the offender need? What does the victim need? What do we all need? Because we all want to feel safe in our communities with as little government interference as possible. That's what we all want.
Of course, yes. And the houseless issue is just beyond us right now and that sometimes that creates, people to get in trouble. But
well, I think the concern for me with houselessness is not so much that there's an increase in crime, but there's the increase in perception by people in the community that they're not safe. So even though crime rates might not be going up or crime rates might even be going down, it is a visible sign that makes people feel unsafe. And when people feel unsafe, they might act in ways that are unsafe. So I actually do think trying to find ways to help the houseless is part of my job, because if people don't feel safe, they won't act safely.
Well, I really want to appreciate the time you've taken to explain your position and what you do a little bit more thorough, because, there's so much more than just somebody committed a crime, they need to go to jail, and then somebody who's going to put them in jail. But so I thank you so much. We look forward to maybe interviewing you in the future to give us even more thorough explanations of Measure 11s and, all the nitty gritty of the criminal system. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.